Crossroads Ministry is so privileged to partner with a great worldwide ministry, Salvation Army. And Crossroads is creating programming for a Sunday school curriculum throughout Canada and beyond. And today we are honored to have Clarence Harvey, a true veteran from Salvation Army. How many years, Harvey?
55. I think it's about 55 years, but if I go back to my birth with the organization, it was when I was 11 years old in Detroit, the inner city of Detroit, just at the end of the Second World War. I think I was introduced to the Salvation Army by a little captain who handed me a little piece of paper, and I didn't know it was going to be my calling for the rest of my life, but God intervened and touched the heart of my wife and myself and allowed us to give our lives to the organization and serve throughout the world and the country.
You know, we often hear about Salvation Army, and many people do not know. They hear the person at Christmas ringing a bell, but they don't know the faith element that is behind Salvation Army. Such a strong component. Just give us an overview.
Well, I think most symbolic is this uniform, and the uniform itself is a sacred part of who we are, and it represents our calling and our opportunity to serve. And having served 55 years, my background of service, being cross-trained by the Salvation Army, probably has enabled me to be one of the most privileged Salvation Army officers to serve and do so many different things in my years of service. And I learned over the years, having directed 5 disasters, both nationally and internationally, that if I had this uniform on, the doors of opportunity were enormous. If I didn't have this uniform on, there was no way I could get through a door, because I think the uniform spoke a number of messages. It spoke the message of compassion, of concern for the disadvantaged, and it was a godly message of a person who they could trust, that they could entitle me with opportunity to serve. And I think probably one of the highlights of my particular service in the Salvation Army was when I was a young boy in the city of Detroit following the Second World War. And then in the year 1995, I was privileged to go to Normandy and direct the hospitality for the 50th anniversary of all the veterans for all of the Allied countries, including Canada. And I was able to put together the hospitality services of all the veterans, and there were, I think, about 35,000 who went over to Normandy. And it reminded me that when the little captain handed me a piece of paper back when I was 11 years old and said, come to our community center and just be a part of our activities, that God would plant that seed through him. And here I'm in France, in Normandy, celebrating the 50th anniversary and commending those veterans who allowed me the privilege to go through my youthful life, move on, and serve in the Salvation Army. And wearing this uniform in Normandy and throughout the areas to which the battles occurred, I was just honored to think that this sacred uniform was symbolic of what the Salvation Army represents in every aspect.
Now, as Crossroads moves into the United States, and we're both Americans, I think our Canadian friends would really be excited to know just the stature of people that back Salvation Army. And when the board meetings come together, former first ladies are there. I mean, it's like a who's who. Can you just share that with our friends?
Well, I'm humbled to be here, Jerry, because people who are watching that have any knowledge of the Salvation Army know that the respect of the Salvation Army in Canada is equal to the United States.
Right.
Some of our top leadership over the history of the Salvation Army has come out of Canada. So I certainly would not like to imply that the United States has anything over Canada.
Right.
However, I must say that in the form of of respect for the organization in the United States, I've been overwhelmed. And I'll give you just an example. When I was the divisional commander over the state of Michigan, your neighboring friend here in Canada, we were facing real difficulties with our bell ringing back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I remember I got a call from a radio station, WJR, and the host of that station said, I just heard from Flint, Michigan, that they're going to not allow the kettles this year in the mall. And I said, I know nothing about that. And he said, well, would you check it out and call me back? Because he said, we're concerned about that. So I called and I found out that a lady about 80 years old had gone to the mall with her bag of money that she collected for years and years with her kids and now her grandkids, and every year she would want to teach them how to give. And the only symbol that she could give her kids and grandkids over those years was the red kettle. And so she would take her bag of collected coins and give them out to her grandkids, and they would put it in the kettle. And she went there with her grandkids knowing the kettle would be there, and it wasn't there. Well, I didn't know anything about this. So I called the radio station and told them the story. I said, this is what happened. The decor of the mall changed and the kettle didn't fit, and problems were there, and we just didn't fit. And they said, well, okay, we'll look into that. So the news media got involved. And the next thing, we get a call from the White House, and it's Barbara Bush's office. And she said, do you have a national chairman? Well, we didn't have one. And she said, is it a problem if I self-appoint myself? And she got her host of followers to go out to the mall in Washington and stand there as the national symbol of her respect for the kettle. Well, I didn't have to make another call other than find out how I could get more kettles. Because all the malls were calling, all the stores were calling in the state of Michigan wanting to be a part of this here drastic change, because they didn't want to be a part of saying they couldn't come. So I'm saying that the influence of people outside of the church people that we're familiar with, or our little flock of followers of the needy people, God has a miraculous way of taking people and motivating them, those who have and those who have not, to contribute to His kingdom for the lasting purpose of winning people to the Lord.
You know, in the few moments that remain, would William Booth have ever thought, when they were throwing tomatoes at him and all the rejection he had, that the Salvation Army would boom to what it's become over such a long history?
William Booth nor Clarence Harvey sitting here had no idea what would have transpired in my life to serve in an organization, to be able to go around the world and provide. I know from whence I cometh. I know my limitations, and God knows my limitations. And I thank God that it doesn't have to be revealed, because people can allow me to serve without demanding any kind of character check on me for all of my life. And God has allowed me to do more than I deserve. And William Booth, I'm sure, when he put his head on that last pillow to be promoted to glory, as we call it, I'm sure he was overwhelmed with what transpired, let alone he had no idea how fast it would grow to 126 countries today in the world, serving millions and millions of people in the world from all different kinds of aspects of their lives, from the prison to senior citizens, to children, to what you say here with the electronics today and what goes on in providing Sunday school curriculum for kids to keep the mission going. He'd have never dreamed it. No way.
Well, you know, Clarence, we are just absolutely thrilled at Crossroads to be working with the Salvation Army on this dynamic video curriculum. And it's going to go all over the world teaching faith and values. I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to also thank you for this. You have been used of God to raise millions of dollars for the kingdom of God. I mean, you've obviously spent your life at the Army, but beyond the Army, you've cared for the poor and many times the forgotten people of our world. And we wanted you here today to say thank you for what you and your wife Lois have done so faithfully. How does it feel on the backside of your life to realize how God has used you as a channel?
Beyond my comprehension, really. And I think with my health presently, being 76 years old and having 4 careers in humanitarian service, the Salvation Army launched me back when I was a little kid to do this. And I retired, and then a privilege to have a wealthy man trust me to have me go around the world and help give away his wealth for a period of time. And then he died, and then have 2 gentlemen asked me to continue on and help charitable organizations where I've helped hundreds of them and giving them mentoring and coaching and fund development. And all of them know it's a result of, they would ask the same question you asked: can you help us develop resources and opportunities to serve people as you were able to do through the Salvation Army? So I thank God for having self-worth at the age of 76.
Right.
And to any of your viewers, I would hope that each of them realize that they have a purpose, not to find a lazy boy chair, but there's other things out there they can do with their life to make a contribution. And if they feel that their world has come to an end because they've retired, then woe is them, because I say there's opportunities and doors for everyone in God's kingdom to be able to find something to do for the welfare of others.
Clarence Harvey, thank you for being with us, and thank you for helping me in the initiative of Crossroads USA. We look forward to all the future things that will happen as we continue to touch people.